Hello everyone! Welcome to the 6th and longest of winter/Christmas specials. Time for more SakuAtsuAranKita now. Let's go! As always, special thanks to my lovely patrons, members, and all of you who still watch my videos. Don't forget to subscribe to keep up with the uploads, and check out the members only posts with the Confession series and Jealousy series. With the winter coming in with sudden freezing temperatures and snow, Kita found himself somewhat bored on the farm. Instead of the backbreaking but satisfying work around the farm, his main task nowadays was to keep their hearth burning and house warm while his pro volleyball boyfriends went off to practice. He couldn't say he didn't like lounging in their living room under a blanket, reading a book or looking up new recipes, while the fire crackled happily next to him and snow kept gently falling behind the window. But it was a huge change. It reminded him to never ever be cross with Atsumu for being fidgety during play breaks, since he too could feel himself getting restless in the long hours he was home alone. At least we had that litter of kittens to take care of last year, but this one is so quiet. Ironic, considering it's more of us here. He smiled softly with the thought on his boyfriend, although the sweetness came with a slight sourness as well. He knew Atsumu took Sakusa out on a date recently, but he wasn't sure how much it helped, if at all. The truth was, he would understand if Sakusa wanted to get away from them and only stayed because he loved Atsumu so deeply, and he would never force him to stay against his will. But on the other hand, he realized losing him as his partner would hurt a lot more than he initially thought. It wasn't a bad thing that Sakusa grew on him, of course. However, it made things more difficult. Maybe I should tell Aran we should take him out too, so that he could get to know us better. We definitely haven't spent enough time with him since he came around. The realization saddened him, mostly because Sakusa was obviously struggling with his feelings and the current situation, but was too scared to say anything. He knew that, meaning it should have been them to reach out first, offer the connection and form a bond. And yet, maybe because they knew Atsumu so well already and loving him was so easy, they forgot that Sakusa was so unique. We should definitely put some work in over winter. Determined to figure something out, he shot a quick text to Aran to ask him to come home as early as possible, and then went on to Google bonding activities they could do in winter. It was a little silly of him having to turn to internet for help, but he would also be the first one to admit he wasn't the best when it came to building romantic relationships. With Aran, he just got swayed along, and Atsumu was a very specific case of catching feelings. He had no idea how to build a connection to someone like Sakusa though. If he would even want that. He decided to be optimistic in this regard, since Sakusa did strike him as someone who wanted to love and be loved. They just had to make sure to not make him uncomfortable. Most of the sport activities he found, like skiing or snow hikes, he scrapped immediately since he couldn't risk any of them besides maybe himself getting injured. Some he tucked away into a notepad to suggest it if the mood was right, and some he wrote down on a small paper to have it at hand for when he suggested their next evening activity. However, one thing in particular kept popping up everywhere he looked. It wasn't really an activity per se, but the more he thought about it, the more he liked the idea. Secret Santa? Pretty much, yes. I think it's a nice idea. Atsumu no less than beamed, tapping his feet in excitement. It's an awesome idea! I can finally have a gift exchange without risking pulling Samu again. You pulled your brother for a gift exchange? Yeah, twice in a row. I don't know how it happened, but it was annoying as hell. He pouted and Kita had to chuckle, earning a bewildered and perhaps ever so slightly smitten look from him. I suppose that does sound like your kind of fate. Pretty stupid fate if you ask me. His face brightened again. But hey, that's past. I can go all out now. Wait, slow down. How would we even do this when it's just 4 of us? The same way it's done usually. We'll just put the paper back when someone pulls their name, and it's going to work well. Aran seemed to think about it for a moment before giving an agreeable hum and leaning down to kiss Kita's cheek. Alright, if you want to do it, fine with me. Yay! Ami, what do you think? Looking taken aback, Sakusa glanced around them uncertainly. I have nothing against it. I'm just not sure what you would want. That's okay. Go with your instinct. He reached over the table to cover Sakusa's hand, giving Sakusa his best supportive smile despite the ache in his heart caused by the clear confusion in the velvety dark eyes. He wished he noticed it sooner, the way Sakusa always looked confused when they showed him affection, as if he didn't expect it, as if he thought he didn't deserve it. It's not a life or death situation. It's about the thought behind the gift. Exactly. So no worries, okay? Sakusa nodded, for a moment looking uncertainly at their still connected hands before his shoulders finally relaxed a little. Alright, I'll do my best. We know. Let's draw the names now so we have enough time to get the gifts. I'll fetch the paper. Before anyone managed to say anything, Atsumu already ran away, his happy blabbering sounding through the whole house. However, his excitement was infectious, enough so that Sakusa's lips stuck imperceptibly upward, relieving some of Kita's worries. He hoped Sakusa wouldn't be too anxious because of this, especially since his main reason he came up with the whole gift exchange was for himself or Aran to hopefully pull Sakusa's name. It probably wasn't ideal, but it was their chance to show their boyfriend he was appreciated here. That they saw him and wanted to make him happy too. The days flew by, especially once the pro teams went on a winter break and their house filled with life again. Kita loved every moment of it, surprisingly finding out he didn't feel cooped up even with all of them always at home. The same couldn't be said about Sakusa, but it didn't seem like he was distressed. Rather, he looked a bit nervous. If it was because of the gift giving or something else, Kita wasn't sure as he didn't want to pry. He just hoped it would go away soon and let Sakusa be happy. Unfortunately for his plan, he ended up pulling Atsumu's name from the bag. Of course, he still made sure to buy the best quality sports drinks and a new set of knee pads since the old ones Atsumu wore were no less than shredded now. He just hoped Sakusa's gifter ended up being Aran. Otherwise, this whole plan ends up a cute but kinda useless event. Hey, cheer up, it's Christmas. With a soft sigh, Kita leaned back against Aran's chest, humming contently as the gentle fingers combed through his hair. Since when are you so into celebrating Christmas? You were the one who came up with gifts. Or did you have a secret agenda? He didn't even have the mind to lie and nodded. Pretty sure Aran figured it out weeks ago. He always did. Softest of kisses landed on his lips. No worries, it's going to be a nice evening. Unless Atsumu rage quits wrapping his gift. As if on cue, a frustrated shout sounded from somewhere in the house, making them both laugh. Might be closer than we think.
I'll go check on him before he stabs himself.
He disappeared up the stairs. Not even a minute later, there was a startled yelp, then shout, all closed by a loud bang of door and Aran's laugh as he walked downstairs again. I wonder whose gift he's wrapping.
Yeah, not so secret anymore.
He returned to his previous position behind Kita and continued to play with his hair. And Kita could purr with happiness if it wasn't for the persistent nudge of worry on his mind. Have you seen Kiyomi?
Like half an hour ago. I think he said something about going into the storage. Why?
I'm a bit worried about him. He looked so anxious in the morning. Silence settled around him as Kita sighed, wondering whether he perhaps still did something wrong to make Sakusa nervous. He tried to include him in the Christmas and New Year's preparations, spend as much time with him as possible. But even that might have been too little. Or maybe too much. He mentally berated himself for not realizing he could easily be overwhelming Sakusa instead of helping, given Sakusa's natural tendency to avoid people. We really aren't prepared for dealing with someone so quiet after all.
I'm sure he will be alright.
He squeezed Kita's shoulder, the warm smile curling his lips, settling some of Kita's worries.
We still have time to make it better.
I suppose. Hopefully the gift-giving wasn't a bad idea. The darker it got outside, the more Kita worried, finding himself looking out of the window every minute or so in hopes to spot Sakusa returning back home. Yet the storage door stayed closed the whole time. Everything else was ready at that point, including their slightly more festive than usual dinner, the gifts laid out under the small tree Aran and Atsumu dragged home a few days ago, and the very much impatient Atsumu who hadn't stopped eyeing the presents the whole evening. Everything except their boyfriend. I'll go check on him, he's missing all the fun.
That's your concern? Not the lack of heating and all that?
Atsumu paused, biting his lip in a way Kita knew showed shame. Well, yeah, that too. I think it's a good idea. He's been there for hours. Something could have happened. He didn't want to be pessimistic, but what else could prevent Sakusa from coming back other than injury or severe anxiety? Both of those options were scary. However, just as Atsumu headed to the hallway to get his jacket, the main door opened, letting in shivering but seemingly unharmed Sakusa. The nervous knot in Kita's stomach unraveled, the way Atsumu immediately started fussing around their boyfriend, allowing him a small smile. Everything alright, Kiyomi? Yes, it's fine. Sorry to keep you waiting. You should be. What were you doing out there for so long? You're freezing. As if to support his claim, he gently rubbed Sakusa's cheeks. A little pout settled on his lips. You could have gotten sick. I'm sorry, I needed to think about something. That sentence, together with the uncertainty clearly visible in his eyes, returned Kita's worries in full force. But before he could think of some gentle way to ask about it, Sakusa carefully removed Atsumu's hands from his face and headed to the tree, adding 2 more gifts under it. I needed to repack it. He added that as if that would explain the several hours he spent outside. But as much as he wanted to know the real reason, Kita stopped himself in time before asking. It wasn't his place to pry, not now. Not when Sakusa's eyes begged to change the subject. And so he smiled and lightly clapped his hands, motioning to Aran and Atsumu to join in. Alright, since we are all here now, We get to start with dinner. But the presents... He yelped when Aran gently chopped his head.
Meal first, Sumo.
Correct. No celebration is supposed to be done on an empty stomach. He just made it up, of course, but sometimes one had to be creative when dealing with Atsumu's more childish side. They could open the gifts already, sure, but he wanted to give Sakusa to thaw a little and also to settle more into the family atmosphere. In the end, at least that part of his plan seemed a success, as Sakusa's skin gained some more color as he ate the warm food, and even cracked a few smiles here and there. His shoulders also relaxed, his posture no longer screaming nervousness to the whole world. Almost like an outdoor cat finally feeling the warmth of home. In comparison, the price of having to wait a bit for the gift reveals was insignificant, and even Atsumo seemed to come to the same conclusion by the looks of it. That is, until the dishes were cleaned and his excitement could no longer be contained. Okay, mine first!
What are you, 6?
Some things don't change. Kita chuckled at Atsumo's offended gasp, glad Sakusa was in the mood to tease. A good sign. We can do a chain. He handed Atsumo his gift, which he somehow managed to put into a single box. Here you go. Oh, I can't wait! He tore into the ribbon and wrapping paper like an impatient child, yet somehow managed to keep the paper in one piece instead of shredded confetti, which Kita suspected was because he didn't want to clean up. His eyes no less than sparkled when he saw the knee pads, giving Kita a wide grin. Thank you. How did you know? I wash them sometimes, remember? The old ones are good for a trash can at best. This should support your knees better too. He staggered when Atsumo threw himself around his neck, the soft giggling by his ear turning his heart into mush. Thank you, and for the drinks and sweets too. Just don't eat them all at once, okay? I won't. Okay, my turn next. He carefully put everything back into the box and then unsurprisingly handed Aran a soft package. The man blinked in apparent confusion when a stack of underwear appeared amongst the wrapping paper, although Kita had a lot to do to not laugh.
What's that for?
Atsumo narrowed his eyes at him. I also do laundry sometimes, you know, and there's a drastic need for change in this department. But open the hall, come on. With the faintest blush on his cheeks, Aran hesitantly continued unwrapping the gift before pausing the second time when more clothes, by the looks of it thermal t-shirts of some high-end brand, came to view, as well as a small flat box, which, once opened, revealed a golden chainlet with a small pendant with engraved letters that Kita couldn't read from his seat. What's that? The pendant disappeared from his view.
A secret.
Smooth, that's... Thank you. I'm glad you like it. Since when are you two keeping secrets from us? Both gave him a sheepish smile.
It's just something that only has meaning for the two of us.
Kita accepted that explanation, although he would lie if he said he wasn't curious. It had to be something in connection to their childhood, since that was the only time only the two of them shared memories on. Or maybe there was something happening behind the scenes he had no idea about. Since the two remaining gifting pairings were clear now, he stole a quick glance at Sakusa, so far sitting silently at the very edge of the light circle from the tree and fireplace, the blinking lights making it difficult to read his expression. He looks tense again, though.
Alright, my turn then.
He got up and handed Sakusa a smaller box, a soft smile on his lips.
I wasn't entirely sure what to get you, but I hope you'll like it.
Thank you. Almost hesitantly, he carefully unwrapped the paper, folding it immediately into a neat square before he froze with the box in hand.
I heard you talking about how gross the filtering water bottles get after a while because you can't clean them properly. This one has some special filter that doesn't filter out the minerals, only the bacteria, and all of the parts are removable so you can clean everything.
He let out a chuckle, his hands trying to wrap the back of his neck.
It's kinda not much compared to the other gifts now that I saw them, but...
That's fine. I had no idea you were listening. He hugged the box to his chest, for a moment looking small, like a child protecting a precious thing. Thank you.
A pleasure.
And Kita finally allowed himself a bit of relief. He mentally patted Aran's back for his gift choice, glad that it turned out to be something proving they were paying attention to him. Maybe with a few more moments like this. Ami, it's your turn. Snapped back into reality, Kita watched the already familiar uncertainty flash across Sakusa's face as he got up, handing him 2 beautifully wrapped presents. I didn't know which one to choose. He withdrew back to his previous spot immediately after saying that, perhaps subconsciously taking the bottle into his hands again. It made Kita's heart ache, especially since he would be happy with absolutely anything Kiyomi would come up with. Unfortunately, Kiyomi didn't seem to know that. Which is our fault, again. He made sure to not make a mess or tear the paper anywhere, slowly unveiling a box with some sort of kneeling aid for gardening if he could judge by the image. On his silent question, Sakusa motioned to the cover image.
You kneel in cold dirt a lot when weeding and planting in the garden. It's bad for joints. This is supposed to make it easier to kneel for longer as well, because it holds your back in a better position.
Aw, that's so sweet of me. That's so thoughtful of you. He bit the inside of his cheek, but inwardly jumped with joy that he wouldn't have to kneel in dirt or wet grass that much. His joints really appreciated it less and less with each year, especially with the added workload on the farm. And the fact that Kiyomi cared that much moved something deep within him. He then turned his attention to the second, much softer present, and he could seriously cry when he unpacked the softest blanket he had ever seen in his life. Although, on a closer look, it seemed to be one of those he didn't need to unwrap himself from to get up. You hurt me. He didn't need to see Sakusa nod to know the answer. It had been about a week since he found himself grumbling under his breath about having to always unwrap himself from the blanket when he needed to get something and getting caught in the process. Overcome by a sudden wave of emotions he didn't have much explanation or name for, he set the things down as the precious gifts they were and walked over to Sakusa's little corner. Can I hug you? Sakusa froze. I suppose, if you want to. Of course I want to. He pulled Sakusa into his arms, squeezing just lightly to not make him uncomfortable and opting to gently rub his back instead. Thank you. Those are amazing gifts. Are they? Yes. You have no idea how grateful I am. It might not sound like it, I know. I'm sorry about that, but I am. For a moment that felt like a whole eternity, Sakusa stayed unmoving, as if hesitating or thinking about what he should do. And then, finally, with a tiny nod, He relaxed into his arms, even weakly hugging back before Kita let go to not overwhelm him. However, just the fact he was willing to accept the hug and ease into the touch from someone that wasn't Atsumu was incredible. Maybe even better than all the gifts combined. Should we get some sweets now? Yes!
Don't eat it before you bring it here, you hear me? Wait, you damn rascal!
Amused, Kita shook his head as Aran chased after Atsumu to prevent him from eating all the cookies they had, and then reached his hand to Sakusa to hold. Come here. It's always cozier when all of us are together. Are you sure? Of course. Come on. It felt a little like a Christmas miracle when, after a second of hesitation, Sakusa shifted to sit next to him. Not quite huddled, but he would take that over leaving his boyfriend sitting in the dark away from everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. There's nothing better than some polyship chaos and angst masked as fluff. Yes, I'm very much enjoying this, and I will keep enjoying delivering polyship angst, because that's what feeds me right now. Anyway, I kinda died editing this, so I really hope you enjoyed it. And the next 2 out of 3 videos are going to be not Christmas/winter themed. I have one more, and after that we will go into the winter stuff, which is one wedding, some vacation, and the aftermath of the vacation, and 2 shorts. If you have any requests or ideas, the request form is linked in the video description. See you next time!